I don't like it. There's so many pockets, really poorly sewn. Is that a bug or is that a feature? Welcome back. What do you guys got for me this week? Okay. Who's this from?
Linus Tech Tips or LTTStore.com.
Oh, fellow Canadian, okay. Sticker pack. This bag is fully recyclable. Let's see what kind of stickers we got first. Oh, this is like good amount of stickers. Oh, this is definitely, you always have hot takes. What did you guys order?
I honestly don't remember.
This is, oh, 2 t-shirts in here.
One of those is their blank shirt, and the other one is they have an option where you can just buy a mystery shirt. So that's, I guess, the mystery.
This is their basic tee. What's this one? It's like a cargo pant. Lots of pockets here. It's like your jacket, hoodie. Technical zip jacket hoodie. Let's start with the t-shirts. Okay, so this is their blank t-shirt. What can you tell me about this?
So it is a blank shirt. Apparently they searched far and wide for a blank t-shirt that had the comfort and durability that they wanted in a tee. And they couldn't find one, so this is what they came up with.
Okay. So one thing I see right off the bat is this bottom hem. It is really wonky. Let's take a measurement here. So this is called high point shoulder. About 28 and a half, 29 and a quarter. So 3/4 inches off. This is often something you're gonna see when you are manually cutting. You're gonna be stacking these quite thick, a little bit less precise, meander with that blade, and then all of a sudden, a stack that's this thick is all messed up. Cotton poly, single jersey knit. They're chopping up the polyester, mixing it with the cotton, and then spinning it into yarn. So that does 2 things. It lowers your product cost, and you do give it some dimensional stability. It's almost already starting to pill on the inside. Do you see that? Long term, because this is fiber blended, this will pill. They did have the neck tape go edge to edge, which was nice. I do see like a lot of puckering on the seam. Let's take a look at the inside. Untrimmed threads here. Ooh, lots of loose thread on the inside. Over here, you'll see they ran the machine and then they did another seam here. This was done to try and fix a garment that was probably really poorly sewn. What I suspect is that they overshot this arm. Like if a third-party inspector caught that, they would instantly fail this. It's so bad. Mystery shirt. This was, pardon my ignorance. What is this design?
Pardon my ignorance, but I don't know.
This is just an American Apparel shirt for you younger folks. Is now LA Apparel, or the former founder of American Apparel, launched LA Apparel. American Apparel itself now is owned by Gildan. And this is made in Guatemala, 50-50, so I'm guessing 50% cotton, 50% polyester. Gildan is such a large producer of just cheap blanks. Obviously the workmanship's not great, lots of loose thread already. This is something that would be a $3, $4, maybe $5 blank. This same thing, very wonky bottom hem. Well, and when you're running a serging machine, you actually keep running the machine and a little tail comes off, you bring it back around, you trim it, and they left the tail. You're getting what you pay here.
Is it better or worse?
I know, that's what I'm about to say. Both equally not great. Next. Twill pant. They have the little paper to cover the buttons. Do you think it's a branded button? Let's find out. Where's the sticker with the LTT logo? Like, come on. Right? Perfect opportunity. You have enough 3D printers. You can mock up your own custom button, 3D print it in-house, and then send the CAD file to your factory for bulk. Do have a little bit of elastic in the waistband here. Not the deepest pockets, but there are pockets. Thinking of the product development process, they probably started with this pant. They had all these pockets. They saw the price and probably like, holy shit. And then they're like, we want to push this project through. Let's pull away certain trims and elements. They do have a leather patch here, magnetic. Oh, when I see a magnet on one side, this is always going to curl. When you wash this, it's already going like this. This will start to curl and you're gonna end up with a pant like that. You need to have magnets on both sides, but again, so many pockets here, so many zippers. They probably had made the executive decision of eliminating a magnet on this end for costs. They have more pockets on the inside here. You guys are gonna have fun taking this apart after. A zipper down here.
All the zippers are wicked here.
Yeah, zippers are one of those things where you want it to be a known variable in product design. And when you go with YKK, it is a known variable. You know it's going to perform. Another alternative would be SBS. And then of course you got really specialized ones like Riri, but those are really expensive. There's so many pockets. Gusset here. The material could have been improved on, but I'd imagine if you have a pair of pants like this and you are utilizing all these pockets, you're probably not washing this that often just because the sheer amount of work. You have woven pocket bags here. Is there any treats left in there for us? No. Let's take a look at the next item before we cut this up. What do they call this item?
This is the hooded task jacket.
YKK zippers again. This is a cotton nylon spandex. The lining is a polyester spandex. Do not drop. Is that like an Easter egg? Look at the pants. Do not drop. Google that. There must be something behind that.
Probably just because he's always dropping shit, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I do appreciate that they have a 3-panel hood and an embroidery on the sleeve. I do like that they've carried their woven label across styles. They did bar tack the pockets. Same thing with the pants. They bar tack that. There is a chest pocket here as well. You know, there's some loose threads here. Overall, I would say the workmanship of this and the woven pant is definitely a lot better than the shirt. Let's actually take this to the psych, or let's take this to the psych? The wall, the void. Let's take a look at the fit. What are your overall impressions so far?
That's actually quite comfortable.
Can you turn around? There's some excess fabric here. Could have just been from pressing. I would say though, it looks like the armhole is a little low. What's gonna happen is when you put your arm up, it causes what's called lift, and you can see a lot of tension here versus the shirt that I'm wearing. It's tucked into my armhole, so it's minimal lift. Just bring this armhole up a little bit would prevent this lift, prevent these drag lines, because you can feel it's tugging on the body of the fabric. I would say it's a very generic shirt fit. I don't think it's called the blank shirt. The ribbing, does seem a little bit low though on the neck. Oh, it's fairly loose too. Is this gonna really stretch out over time and you just have a very loose bacon neck? Let's take a look at the jacket.
Yeah.
Initial impressions.
I like jackets like this. I feel like the one thing, just immediately when I put it on, I feel like it would be nice if there was something a little softer in the pockets.
Oh yeah. How's the length for you?
This is like good, I'd reckon.
Can you zip it up?
Yep.
Say the ribbing, I don't think it needs to be that long.
I feel like if it were tighter,
it is
kind of
fairly
get
loose
it.
as well. It kind of defeats the purpose if it's
Yeah.
ribbing there and it's not even tight.
yeah, like there's plenty of wind's getting in here, you know.
Probably a little bit of fabric we could take out here. I would have also started the hood off a little bit further from the center. It does have a 3-panel hood, which is very important in terms of actually conforming around the head. For a medium wearer with medium-sized arms, it is stacking a little bit. Okay, so that's it for the fit. Let's head back to the lab and let's take it apart. We're not gonna bother with the American Apparel one today because it's just a generic blank, and assuming that they're going to be using this going forward. Remember, there's the stitching defect over here. This is where they screwed it up and they had to serge it again to trim off the excess seam allowance. A lot of loose threads here. Typically, you have this kind of like vacuum hood thingy and you kind of just shake the garment in there and it sucks up all the loose thread off the garment. But they've clearly skipped that step over here. Let's open up the side seams first. I do like how they carried the neck tape over the entire shoulder. It just really supports that seam and allows the garment to hang off of you a lot nicer. This is the sleeve hem. A little wonky in terms of its workmanship. Tape here. It's just self-fabric. The reason why you do that, you have your serge seam here and you would feel that against the body. So you can either fold that down, put a top stitch over it, or you fold it down, put self-fabric on it. It just makes it a lot more comfortable. So no spandex in here. All the stretch and recovery is purely mechanical, but you're gonna get a little bacony over time with that. And there you have LTT Blank T-shirt. And up next is the jacket. The last like full jacket we did was the Canada Goose jacket, and that took 14 hours of disassembly. I'm gonna take this mostly apart, and then we'll let the team take the rest of the part. It's not bad. It's not generic merch. They definitely have a technical developer, technical designer on their team to put this together. Here is the interior liner, basically secondary jacket on the inside. Overall, the A surfaces are pretty good. Woven labels consistent between the pant and this, so that's telling me it's probably made at the same factory, which they could, because factory that's able to execute on this can execute on that. If you're not extremely organized, just the sheer process of ensuring that the right panel pieces go to the right sewer is going to be an undertaking. So this is a pretty decent factory they have. Let's see if I put this on. This is what's going to touch the body. And the reason why you're using this, one is an additional layer, but the fabric over here is very stiff. You want something that's very slippery on the inside so it doesn't impede your body. So when you move, this can slide up and down my arms. There definitely could be higher quality liners, but I would say at this price point, it is very serviceable. There's nothing wrong with that liner. Then we have the jacket itself. The fabric is stiff enough that they're able to embroider on it. They did use a pretty thick interfacing to give it that more of a three-dimensionality. There is a slight curve to the arm here, this panel, and that's being done over here. If I rip this apart, there is a curve built into it. So your arms are almost like pre-bent, and what that's going to do is it's going to give you less resistance. You'll see that on the pant as well. It's almost articulated halfway in the mid position so that you don't feel the full resistance of the fabric because there's not a lot of stretch within this fabric. So I just pulled off the hood here. The single needle stitch that they have, the liner meandered into the way of the sewing machine. So they stitched right over the liner here. So that should be over there. I could see how a worker would have missed that during the QC process. Whoever was sewing that though, definitely did not miss that. Yeah, there's one of those, oh! So when we look at the hood itself, you're trying to conform a flat material around a round object. When you do it with a 2-panel, you're having to now take something that is flat and like an envelope that you're opening up and you're trying to wrap it around a round object. It's just not gonna do it that well. You're gonna have to make the hood larger than it needs to be. But 3-panel hood, especially for lined objects, are just gonna conform to the head a lot better. All the weight is distributed on the center of my head, and these seams are pulling that middle panel. So it's gonna feel a lot more comfortable. Let's leave this aside and we'll have the guys take apart the rest of this.
Pants time?
Pants time. So we do have a gusset here. Gusset is to help with the fit of the garment. Look at our Lululemon ABC pant for an episode on the excellent application of that. I'm gonna send this part over to the team. I do this is still bothering me because any cargo pocket, this is always going to happen with. And I get into the idea of cost savings, but you've already blown the budget to make this pant. Let's be honest. I don't see why you couldn't put another one there unless the idea is you didn't want a magnet because whatever you're putting in here, but then you could have went with a snap at least because this is it's already happening. Oh, interesting. Can I get that pant back? You see here, this pocket's actually quite crooked here. Okay, that is on both sides. Is that a bug or is that a feature? Maybe it's easier to get something in because you can, with this flap down, you could still access in here. And I guess the idea is if you have something loaded into there, and you don't want a magnet there, it's on both sides, so I think this is a design feature to be able to access that pocket, but then you can also have just made it a little bit shorter and you could have had it straight across. Unless they're we need a pocket that's exactly this depth, I don't see why they had to cut this like that to accommodate this pocket. Got a leather woven label here.
Good leather? Should we light it on fire?
Looks like plastic to me. Let's take apart this patch pocket first. So the pocket is gusseted. That's what this is over here. It allows you to expand, pass through channels, 1 pocket, 2 pocket, 3 pocket, 4 pocket, 5 pocket, 6 pockets right here. When you're sewing this over onto this, you need a strong sewing machine. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers to sew through. So there's the pocket. Let's move this pant leg aside. You can see that they took the steps that you want to take to make sure that this is durable. They bar tacked every single seam here at the pocket. It's a step that you take if you're trying to make something that's durable. Take this part here. I want to show you this magnet. The way you do magnets is it's going to be glued to a clear piece of plastic and you sew that plastic in. You're gonna have a non-ferrous foot on the sewing machine, a non-ferrous needle as well. So you have to switch over some of your production steps. So this is the plastic surround that I was talking about. So that is all the components for the pocket. Of course, left a pocket behind here as well. This being a interior pocket, don't need to bar tack it because its ability to actually move is quite limited due to the pocket on the outside. We do have the flap here. This is just below the welt pocket. There is the flap. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so they did put interfacing here, but I would say this is really lightweight interfacing. It's not really doing anything. So I personally would have gone with a stiffer interfacing. That would have made the pocket less likely to curl. And then here's the other side of the magnet. The flap curve must be intentional. If somebody from the LTT team can let us know why this is curved here, I would love to know. Please put in the comments. For the zipper, they did DTM it, so dye to match the base fabric color. Oops. This is the leg panel itself, and the knee is already kind of built in there. It is double layered. It ripped across, and that is because this is a woven material, which is gonna be different than a knit. A woven material is gonna be very similar to a basket. So once a rip has started, it will easily propagate through. If they did want to improve this and make this pant extremely durable, they could have switched to a ripstop nylon. But again, they definitely blew the budget on zippers on here. These are what's called darts. What you're able to do with darts is take a material and start curving it around an object. If I were to make a very exaggerated dart, I'm able to start changing the curvature quite drastically. So by putting 2 darts in here, you're able to more gradually curve this around the knee. And basically the more darts you have, the more you're able to curve an object. And you'll see here with the back panel, because instead of being concave, like the knee panel, you need to be convex now, you're gonna be doing that by curving these seams. They did double line the back of the leg. Typically around the back of the knee, you don't want as much fabric because it's going to inhibit your range of motion. I suspect it is because they want to continue that seam from the front. And it also brings visual interest to the back of the pant. That being said, there's already a lot of visual interest. Here is the gusset. It allows you to have pressure applied to here instead of your ass crack. They have bar tacked all of the belt loops, they've folded them back, and they've sewn them into the waistband. I like what I see here. There's your waistband, because they have the same design on their damask woven here with the dual chevrons. That tells me that this at least is sourced from the same manufacturer. This is why I haven't done denim in a long time. Pants like this just take forever to take apart. Okay. Still have more pockets. DTM pocket bag liner, 2 pocket bags here. I do like the depth of these pocket bags too. I'm gonna leave that leg attached for you guys to take apart.
Whoopee.
Whenever you have a garment that's this complex in terms of production steps, every single step is a point of failure. A lot of times I see with brands, they work with 1 or 2 manufacturers and they really like their work for certain items, and then they throw something that the manufacturer's not confident and capable of executing on. And then it's very telling because there's certain things that a manufacturer that does woven materials a lot would notice and automatically apply that another factory might not. The factory that's doing these pants knows what they're doing. So kudos to the sourcing team at LTT for that. There's the loop here. I don't even fucking know where I am anymore. What I suspect is happening is LTT's probably done quite a bit of work with this factory, and the factory is doing a pair of pants like this because of the relationship. I can guarantee you no factory wants to do a pant like this. What we're gonna do is I wanna send this to the team. They're gonna take apart the rest of this, and then we're gonna throw it into our lab for durability testing. So let's take a look at our test results. These are what are called GSM cuttings. They are 1/100th of a square meter of fabric. So the LTT Blank T-shirt is 167 grams per square meter compared to the American Apparel, which is only 135. The jacket's shell material is 216 and the cargo pant is 248. So next up we have our wash testing. We do color fastness testing with these multi-fiber test strips. Here you have polyester, acrylic, nylon, cotton, wool, and they test for color bleeding of the dyes. We also test for shrinkage. So from edge to edge, about 0.5 centimeter on the width, that is about 2.5% shrinkage. So that's going to affect how tight the body becomes. And then on the body length, 187, roughly 1% shrinkage. If I actually take the front of the shirt, which I have here, it is about 50 centimeters, so let's call it 100 total round. With a 2.5% shrinkage, that means it'll roughly shrink around 3 centimeters total round of the body, so get a little bit tighter. In terms of the body length, it's about 72. That'd be roughly less than 1 centimeter in terms of total body length shrinkage. As a comparison point, here is the American Apparel. As you can see, the color fastness, a little bit of darkening of these strips here, but not too bad. It's about the same, about 2.5% shrinkage. So I have 185 millimeters on the width. On the length here, about 187. So roughly the same shrinkage actually from the American Apparel to the LTT Blank. Next, we'll take a look at the jacket and the pants. As you can see here, again, minimal color bleeding from both of them. I'm gonna go right to the edge of the structure. About 2.5% shrinkage as well on that, and none on the width. So you're gonna get a little bit of body length reduction if you do wash this through a regular wash cycle. For the cargo pant, about 1% shrinkage and no shrinkage in the other direction. Overall, I would say that the shrinkage, even on the t-shirts, is very much acceptable. Next up, we have pilling. So we put this through what's called a Martindale pilling tester, and we basically rub it against a known abrasive. And because these both have polyester content in them, they are definitely pilling. Pilling is caused by fibers actually rubbing and balling up into each other. So when you get shirts that are 100% cotton, what will actually typically happen is when you put in the wash, it'll just lint off into your lint screen. When you mix in polyester, it will lead to pilling like this. If anything, I would say the American Apparel is pilling a little bit more, but both would fail pilling testing. And then for the pant and the shirt, because you're gonna be wearing these as more outer layers, we did abrasion testing. For the first test, we did it with the known abrasion, which would be using for the pill testing. No surprise, it performed quite well. These are very durable fibers. Next up, we did plywood. So the idea here is that if you're gonna be working on a construction site, you might be kneeling on plywood. Both of these perform pretty decently, at least for 1,000 cycles. And then we actually tested it on concrete because often, if you're gonna be working in a shop, your floor is probably concrete. The jacket performed quite well. I would say the pant material, you can see some wear starting to happen, but these were double kneed, so you should be okay over the long term. With that being said, we did not test snagging, and wovens are very prone to snagging. I'm just going to cut a little slit here. Imagine you have something that snags the fabric. It will propagate. The reason why ripstops exist is they actually have larger fibers that would stop the rip from propagating. And if you're having snips or side cutters or hammers, any other sharp objects, and you poke this fabric wrong, you are gonna get issues with the fabric tearing. Let's talk about the LTT Blank T-shirt. For fabric, it is 167 GSM. It is a cotton polyester, going 100% cotton, pre-shrinking it. It might increase your product cost maybe $2 to have 100% cotton. I think you would end up with a far superior product for your end user. I don't like it. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. So when we look at the workmanship, we already saw what happened in terms of the surge seam, in terms of the body being skewed. This really shouldn't be here. This should have been pulled out in production. And because of that, I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. For design, it is a perfectly serviceable t-shirt, but their stated goal was that they couldn't find any other blank t-shirts that they like, and this is supposed to be their epitome of comfort and durability, and this is not it. I've worked with so many factories that could execute this a lot better with better materials, better workmanship, for probably pretty much what they've paid here. So because of that, I'm gonna have to give design a 5 out of 10. At 25 Canadian, we did a review a while ago. I think it was the Pima Cotton crew neck from Uniqlo. That is substantially better at the exact same price. I'm gonna have to give value a 3 out of 10 here. That brings the total to 13 out of 40, which is rough, just like the segue to our next item. Okay, the jacket. Looking at the fabric, I think the selections that they have are perfectly serviceable. They're definitely not gonna win any bonus points for going above and beyond. They're gonna get a 7 out of 10. For workmanship, there was that little defect when it came to the hood. However, overall, it is pretty well made. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. For design itself, Zach tried on, it was fairly comfortable. The only gripe would be the ribbing itself. You choose a ribbing because its ability to stretch. If you're gonna put ribbing, especially around the wrist, by having it not tight, it just allows wind to penetrate, but that's a small change. Overall, the garment was fairly well designed. I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10. I think it's decently priced for a jacket like this. It's not a poorly made jacket by any means. It's not a high-end jacket by any means. I think if you're looking for a hooded task jacket and you're a fan of LTT, I think this is priced well, 7 out of 10. That brings the total to 29.5 out of 40. Final, we have the, how many pocket again, cargo pant? 21. The woven fabric definitely works. However, like, you're in for a penny, in for a pound. You already blew the production budget making this. Spending a little bit more for a ripstop nylon would have made this pant a lot more durable. So because of that, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. For workmanship, the team took apart this entire garment seam by seam and they did not find anything wrong. I'm gonna give workmanship a 10 out of 10. The goal was a pant of many pockets, and I think they achieved that. I can guarantee you there was a lot of debate internally justifying the cost of this product. So I'm gonna have to give design here a 9 out of 10. What I would have liked is just that little flap on the back pocket, have an additional magnet there to keep it closed. But overall, I can just imagine the development process. I would have been like, hell no, we're not making this. If you're looking for a pant with 21 pockets and you have a use for all of them, you're not really gonna find a lot of brands making a product like this, just because there's a lot of internal battles to get a product like this produced. So for that, I'm gonna give value a 9 out of 10. That brings the total to 34 out of 40. This is our first YouTuber roundup or audit, whatever you want to call it. I think overall, the LTT store has some strong offerings and they have some weaker offerings. I think the team on this side is having a little bit more fun than this product development team. I'm still very curious about that pocket shape on these pants. So if anybody from LTT is watching, please let us know. And if you've ever purchased products from LTT, let us know down in the comments what your experience has been. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time. Here we have a sample that the team tried to abrasion test against a RTX
3070. It was the back blade of a 3070. It didn't go so good.